Okay, through here we can open up a new drawing, and we're going to be playing with architecture basically. So we're going to click the new button here and select the architectural template and click OK. It should be on project already, create new project. So go OK, and here we have it. Alright, so yours might look a little different, your user interface, as compared to mine. I have been able to park it side by side like the previous video showed, because I've only got in theory one screen. You guys are using two screens here, you won't be able to do what I'm doing, but you'll be able to park it underneath this one perhaps, as I can see most of you have. So if you haven't got the properties and project browser up, you basically are trying to use it with your hands tied. You need to have both up for it to work. If the first thing you got to do is, if you haven't got it, or if you lose them, because you can easily close them, very easily close these by clicking this cross. So if you ever do that, as long as you got your ribbon, and even that you might lose, because there's a little minimize button up here, which sometimes people click it too many times, and it's not there anymore, but it's actually there. You just have to click it a few more times and it comes back up. Excuse me. Go to view, and if you go to user interface, you see that there's a tick in project browser and a tick in properties. So if yours is not there, just put a tick in there and it will come up. Alright. Okay, so I just want to show you that. What we have here also is we've got under the project browser. It's a bit simpler to the video one. It's basically you get a ground floor plan area, and you get a level 1 floor area, you get a site which you don't use and all that sort of stuff, ceiling plan areas, and where your elevations live and where your sections live, and a lot of other stuff like schedules live down here, and sheets live here. So this is where we put our drawing onto a sheet there, and you can bring different types, sizes as well. And families are basically like the AutoCAD blocks, they're little symbols that we use in the this is a 600 by 600 sitting grid that we might use in our drawing, and it all just lives there. We don't actually really go there, we don't need to. And this is where all the links come in. This is where if you link in an external drawing or like a Revit file, it will go there. We'll do that in our structural time. We'll do structures. We will bring in the architectural, and we'll link it in. But let's just basically what these things are. If you're used to AutoCAD, there's model space and paper space. Well, there's no such thing as model space and paper space as such, but you can think of this as your AutoCAD viewport and model all in one. All these things here are like your AutoCAD viewport and model. And what you see here is what's going to print out on your sheet. Your model space, your paper space is basically your sheet area here. So that's your paper space here, and you put these viewports, you might say, which are actually the model, straight on here, and basically that's how you get a drawing out. But basically let's just draw something so that we can actually see what we're doing before we can explain it a bit better. So if we go to architecture tab, for example, I'd like you to click on the down arrow here where the wall is, and select wall structural rather than architectural. I want you to get into the habit of doing that, because that's what we're going to be using as eventually as structural people. We want to have our walls as structural, because they are structural. They're load bearing, and you'll find if you don't use that when you do your structural drawing later on, no walls will actually get transferred across when you link in your architectural into the structural template to create the structural drawing. So let's stick to this. In fact, if you go to structure and you go into a wall, that's all you get, that one up front, but architectural is second. So you can either go there and get it, or go to architecture and click down and find it. Once you click that, note what happens. Basically we get a wall coming up, 270, which is an Australian size double brick wall with a 50mm gap and 2 lots of 110 bricks. So that tells us what that is. if you will, this here is a bit like the AutoCAD options under your command line. So different commands have different options. Like this one, the wall command, has the option of whether we're drawing the wall from the ground down, which is a bit unusual. You want to grow it up in the height, so you want to change that to height for a start. And whether the wall is connected up to the level 1 or does it go past that. Just give us a warning here. Default wall settings will be changed. Yeah, thank you, that's fine. Some warnings you can ignore, some you don't have to, you have to do something about. So that can be ignored. And here we can set it so it goes to level 1. Excuse me again. Level 1, because we want to connect it to level 1. If we have a look here, where is level 1? How tall is level 1, for example? If we go down to the elevations, click on any elevation, say the north elevation, you will see that there's some levels already in there, and we can add more of these levels quite easily by clicking there's a button under the view somewhere. I'll find it a bit later on, but anyway, yes, there it is there, level. So we can add another level if you want, but we won't do that. So if the level at the moment is to 4 meters high, I can change that by clicking it a couple of times there, and I can change that to 3,000. So if I connect my house to to the level, and I change the level later, it's all connected, so it's so associative, it'll just drop the walls down for me. So that's what I want to do. I'll leave it at 4 anyway. I just want to show you that. So let's go back to the ground floor plan. So whatever we draw here, it's a bit like when we were using AutoCAD the other day, we were moving the UCS around or up on the roof if we wanted to. We're drawing down on the ground floor UCS, but this one here, you can imagine this is like a bit like drawing on your roof in UCS. Perhaps if you wanted to draw up on a different level, you move your UCS up. You can also move your UCS on the face of things, and that's done by reference planes, and also do this little button here. We worry about that in structural, not in here. All right, so we want to draw a wall. So I've just moved out of that, so I've just got to click it again. Wall structural. Now with this thing here, there's no, when you pick a command like that, it just runs forever until you click this modify thing. That's like enter in AutoCAD. All right, so it just runs forever. So it's not like AutoCAD, you use a line command and it's finished. Alright, so let's have a go at that anyway. Now, I don't want to use this basic wall 270. I want to click in the properties here and select a different one. I want to select a 250 wall timber. So I'll click that. And I want to make sure my settings are set to level 1 in height. Am I drawing wall centers? Remember when we were doing the polysolid, we're changing the settings so it's center, left, right, whatever. Here we've got options of whether we're drawing to the core center line, the wall center line, which is the same thing usually, depending. I want to go to finish exterior, which is a bit like the left hand thing that we used in polysolids. So where I click is actually going to be the outside of my wall face. So if I click here and I move up, it hasn't got ortho as such, but it just locks in at 90 degrees, for example, or 0 degrees. All right. So if I move up and I type, make sure I get it right, so it's 90 degrees like that, and I type in, say, 10,000 and I press enter, it goes up by that. And then you can do other things. You can just do a bar, you can do some shape that you want to do. Now when I come across here, see how it actually senses where the other beginning is, and it just says that's where you got to stop. That's really handy. So if I click here, it's a bit like object tracking in CAD, and then I can just go over here. There's no such thing as a close as such, but I go over here, and it knows and it finishes that sequence. Because I've got, the reason I kept going around and around is because the chain was ticked, by the way, here. There's a little tick up the top here that says chain, that was already ticked, and I was able to keep going around like the line work in AutoCAD. So we don't really have lines, or we do have some line work that we can do, but basically everything is like objects. Now, remember what I said, the command's still active. So I can go and draw another wall if I want to. So, it didn't really finish. It's still there. How do I finish that segment? Because I haven't closed it. I'll just click modify or escape. Right. Now, the command's finished, it's gone after I click modify. All right. So escape a couple of times or click modify, gets you out of that. Now I'm going to delete this bit here, just basically highlighting it with a crossing window like that. or you can just click one and hold the control key and click another and another with the control key and press delete. Alright, and that gets you out of that. So what I wanted to show you though, and I might just pause here and just see how you guys are going, and I'll just pop back in and finish that off. So we've got this little drawing here. So if I want to change something, basically I click on here and it gives me some what I call temporary dimensions on here, right? So if that there says is actually 9,500 internally. Now I've put in 10,000 before, but it's not measuring it to the outside, it's measuring it to the inside. So you can actually pick up these little witness things and drag them out. If I click it and drag it out there, you click it from like that point there, you put it out there. Now it says 10,000. Now I want that wall here moved either in or out, and that's why I highlighted that wall. No use me picking this wall, which would give me the same dimension, but if I pick this wall, whatever I change here will actually drag that wall in or out, and I don't want that to move. I want this one to move. Alright, that's why I highlighted this one here. So if I change that to say 12,000 now, right, and it just moves up and it makes the other one a bit smaller. Alright, so that's what that does. That's how it works. If I wanted to move this one here, alright, it does that. Now it's not too bad here. It's going from the outside of that one, which is what I want, but it's going to the inside to this one. You can never really guess how it's going to do it. Now I can drag this out, or I can also click on this little dot once. It goes outside. If I click it again, it goes to the center, back to where it was, and once again outside. So that's where I want it. I could change this, for example, now to 9,000, and that will push that in because I had that wall highlighted. Okay, so you can do this parametric stuff which you can't really do in AutoCAD. All right. What have we actually done though? Before we go further though, let's have a look what we've done. In this view detail stuff here, we've got detail level course, it says here in the view bar here, view properties. Let's just make that fine rather than coarse. If I zoom in now, I'm seeing the two leaves of wall. Now you should have the hatched one, this one here, on the outside, which is basically your brick wall. If it's not on the outside, you need to do something about it. Now on the inside, that 250 wall is actually, if I click on it, so if you want to find out what this is, you click on it, and it says here it's a basic wall under your properties, and it's 250. It's 250, yes, I know, because I have gone into it and I know what it's made out of. It's made out of 110 brick, 50mm gap, and a 90mm timber frame, okay, or timber, so, or studs. So that's how I know what it is. And anyway, if that brick is not on the outside, you can actually use this little thing here to swing it around so it's the other on the inside, but we don't want the brick on the inside of the house. But if you've got it the wrong way and it looks like that on your one, just swing it around so the bricks are on the outside, okay? And then you might have to change the dimensions again because it just stuffs the dimensions up. All right. So what we need to do next is just have a look at what we've done in 3D. Now, if you look at all the exercises that you'll be given, probably most of them will say go to the 3D view, which is in here. These things here are called views, by the way, on the project browser. This is your project browser, which is where you navigate around the project. There's a 3D view. There isn't one in here. When you first start a project, there isn't one. So you've got to click this little house here under the quick access toolbar up the top here. Apart from the save and open and undo and or measure and all those commands, we've got one called default 3D view. So you can click that, or you can go to the view tab if you so wish and click this button here. Same thing. All right, click that. Don't want to save this project at this point. I'll just cancel that. And this is what we get. That's what I've drawn. Wow. Now it doesn't look very nice either, so we can get used to going down here and changing stuff. We can make this fine, for example, or you can actually, this is what I want to do, change it to maybe something like a realistic, or That'll use up your computer power. And if you zoom right in, you can see that we've got some bricks happening here. All right. So that's the. Now, if I highlight this, in theory, I can swing around that wall. Now, the video says use this view cube. I'm not using that. I'm using the shift key and the middle mouse button, just like AutoCAD. The scroller, just hold the scroller down and just move your mouse around, and you'll see that you can navigate around this building like that. Much easier than the view cube.